Next, I would like to welcome this Ernest. Ernest from our team will be able to share with everyone on our TI.com, TI store capabilities, our cross-reference tools, and also API. How do you get your system connected up to TI.com? Yep, Ernest.
Okay, hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ernest. I'm one of the FAEs based in Singapore. So some of you might have seen me before, see my names in the emails, and I see quite a bit of familiar faces over here. So thank you for coming and thank you for staying throughout. So my portion is going to be less technical, more on sharing with you what is the TI store capabilities, some of the TI store features that you might have missed out, and also on our API system. Okay, so this is the agenda that I have for today. I will spend some time to talk about our TI store overview and also elaborate on some of the TI store features that we have. So for the TI store, it doesn't only apply to the procurement people, it also applies to the engineers here. You can gain benefit from here. And I will talk about our cross-reference tools, our simulation tools like our PSpice and our Webbench, and also on our customer support, where you can use our E2E forum to look for technical support, and also we have our customer service center. And some of you might have already heard of this thing called API. So I would like to use this opportunity to also talk about what exactly is API and why we are pushing API, and also how do you get started with API. So if you have any questions, please bear with me until the end of the presentation. There will be some time allocated for Q&A. Because for my section, I'm going to go broad. There's a lot of things to cover, so I will not go deep into everything. So if you want me to deep dive on any specific section, just look for me after this presentation. Okay. So what is TI Store? The first thing when you think about when it comes to TI Store is probably just buying parts from TI. And yes, you're right, that's the main purpose. But actually, other than that, there's more things that you can do in TI Store. So one of the examples is like, let's say if you want to order free samples. If you have a TI account and you register it with your company domain, you can actually apply for up to 5 free samples on TI.com yourself. And just now, Alan was also sharing on some of the reference design that he have for USB Type-C for the notebook. And we actually have a lot of reference design on our TI.com that you can leverage on. And you can also apply for you can download the SDK and also some of the technical documents to help you with your development. And TI.com actually helps you to make your purchase easy and convenient. So what we meant by this is that you can imagine TI.com like a Shopee that you are using. So what you do with Shopee is that you just register one time and then set up your address, and eventually just a few clicks of buttons, you can start to order your products and it will be delivered to your house, to your doorstep. So this is pretty much what TI.com does also. You just have to register your personal account one time and then set up your address. It will be saved into the system. And just some fun fact for some of you who might not know, we actually have a warehouse located at Loyang. So for some of the parts that maybe you order on TI.com, it happens to be available in our warehouse. It will be shipped to you within less than 3 days. And on average, the shipment for TI.com is less than 1 week. So it's actually more like a zero lead time approach. And you can get support anytime you want, 24/7 service. And we also have flexibility for you to manage your information, your interests, your communication preference. You can change the languages over there if you prefer to read the documents in Chinese. And you can also subscribe or create alerts for some of our new tools, our new products, and also our new softwares. Okay, so in TI.com, we actually have more than 80,000 products. So how do you know which is the right product to look for? Of course, one of the ways is to look for your respective FAEs. But if you want to do it yourself, actually, our TI.com make it very easy for the engineers. So let's say, for example, if you want to look for maybe a high-speed amplifier, all you have to do is just to go to the TI.com under the product menu at the top. you will see there's a lot of different categories because we have a lot of products. So you will see maybe things like MCU, like maybe amplifiers, clock, battery management part, power management parts. So just click on the amplifiers and then click on high-speed amplifier, and it will navigate you to this page over here, where we'll have all the list of the amplifiers that we have with all the technical specs. Yeah, I think it's not very clear here, but these are where we list all the different technical specs, and you can also filter them according to the specs that you want, the price that you want, and also the availability and even the packages. And some of you might think that, okay, there's a couple of devices that you want to buy and you don't know which one is better. You can actually check on the checkbox over here, and then you can do a side-by-side comparison. So when you click on this compare button after ticking the checkbox, it will actually generate a table with side-by-side comparison, and you can also export it into Excel for your own reference. So other than this, we also have our cross-reference tool. So previously for our cross-reference tool, we only do like a competitor to TI cross. So some customers come to me and ask me, hey, I'm using this part for 10 years already. Actually, is there any newer parts from TI? You can actually now put in TI parts into the cross-reference tool also, and we will tell you that whether there's newer parts or newer alternatives. So now TI cross-reference tool does competitor to TI cross and also TI to TI cross. And the beauty of this is that if you have a BOM list for all the devices, you can also just upload there. Doesn't matter even if you have maybe some passive components that TI probably don't have. You can just upload everything, and then we will tell you what we have to offer. And for some customers, you all also want to know more about the quality, the material attributes, the PPAP, the product life cycle. There's also a page for this. So we also have tons of reference design for our customers. So some of you might want to explore into new end equipments like maybe a hard monitor, maybe 1 kilowatts power supply, 2 kilowatts, 3 kilowatts. You want to create maybe earbuds, or you want to do like maybe EV charger. Actually, we have a reference design for all these to help you to kickstart. And one thing I need to clarify is that for our reference design, we don't sell the board, but we provide you all the necessary resources that you need. So we provide things like the schematic, the BOM list, the CAD file, and the test report. And you can actually find them and download them from the page itself. And over here is actually, we also have a page for all the different block diagrams for the end equipment. So you can actually leverage on this page to see what are the available TI parts that you can find in every subsystem. And we also have our own simulation tools. So we have PSpice, which we bought over from Cadence. So for PSpice, you can actually download the Spice model from the product page itself and then import it into the software. And another powerful tool that we have is actually Webbench. So this is very useful for you to simulate like our power management devices. So let's say you have a specs in mind, like you want to maybe convert 24 volts to 5 volts with 1 ampere output. You want it to be isolated. You can just key in all these details into the Webbench. And this Webbench is an online tool, so you do not have to download anything. So you can just key in the specs and it will generate a whole list of different devices for you. So you can click on the devices and then you can do a very quick simulation. So this Webbench also allows you to simulate some of the key characteristics, like maybe the Bode plot, the transient response, the steady state response, and you can export them into a PDF report in less than 5 minutes. And also earlier, our BUs also shared that there's also a lot of training videos. So let's say there's certain topology in our LED drivers that you don't know, or maybe there's certain EVMs that you don't know how to set up. You can try to search on our training video, or this is actually our precision lab. So you can go inside and try to look for the video to find out some basic information. And we also have some information that we go into more details. And usually for our training videos, we try to keep it very short and concise for our customers. So it won't take up too much time and it's very topic specific. And for those of you who need support, if you need any support regarding purchasing, documentation, quality or logistic, or let's say you buy something from TI.com, you do not know, you cannot find your tracking number, or maybe you need the COC, you can always go to our customer support center, and this is actually how the page looks like. So you can submit your support in a different form. You can submit a ticket. You can go to our chat support. So this chat support is actually 24/7. So even if you try it tonight at 12 a.m., you go into it, an agent will still attend to you within few seconds. And you can also call our hotline. And for the engineers over here, actually, if you have any device-specific question, you can go into our E2E forum. And the beauty of this is that when you post the questions on E2E, you are actually reaching out to a group of engineers instead of just one engineer. So they'll be able to respond to you within 24 hours. Yeah, because sometimes when y'all reach out to us, we also know some of the devices, but we might not know it as well as the product team. But when you go through this, you can search for some of the FAQ, some of the questions that is already asked, some of the common questions, and you can also reach out directly to our product team. So this is actually a more efficient way for you to look into technical support. And for some of you who prefer to use it in Chinese, we actually also have a China E2E support forum. Okay, so actually now I would like to talk more about API. So this is actually one of the focus topic that I have for today, and I wish to have your attention for this. So before I talk about what is API, just a quick background. Earlier, Gary was sharing about MSP M0, and actually even MSP M0 also uses API to fetch the library. And many big companies like Twitter, Facebook, maybe your flight search app, they also uses API to fetch information directly from the system. So what is API? You can imagine API like a waiter in a restaurant. Without API, it's like a self-service restaurant. You have to go to the restaurant, you order the food yourself from the chef, and then after eating, you need to go and make payment yourself. But with API, when you go to the restaurant, the waiter will do everything for you. So this is pretty much what it looks like. It will go directly into TI system and give you the feedback. And with API, you'll be able to check real-time inventory and pricing. You'll be able to create orders or even automated orders. So you do not have to go to TI.com to add the devices manually. You can just type in a list of all the devices you want and create an order. And you can also get automated shipment notification and also the invoices. So, sorry, I think the slide is not in sequence. I'll go to this slide first. So some customers actually ask me why we need to go to API when we have TI.com. Because API is actually more future-oriented. With API implementation, there's a lot more features that we can add in. And also earlier, Robert was sharing that right now is the market downturn. And we believe that every time when there's a down, there'll be up again. So we do not know when is the surge in demand. We believe that based on the prediction is about 2025, but it will eventually come. So actually for TI, we want to prepare our customers better. So that's why we implemented this API to provide you a better channel to buy from TI.com. So again, API is future-oriented. With API, we'll be able to implement features like a PCN handling, PPAP, TI to TI cross, competitor to TI cross. And it's also more efficient because just now you saw the picture over here. It's actually directly going to a TI system. So you'll get real-time information for this. And our API customers will have priority. So I will talk more about this later. And like what I said, we also have procurement automation. So let's say if this part is not available right now, you can actually create an order or create a notification to prompt you whenever there's a stock. And with API, you'll also be able to enjoy all the advantages that we have in TI stores. Okay, so just now I talked about what is API. API is like a waiter to help you go directly into a TI system to get a database. And then why we want to API? Because we want to provide our customer with a better service when you order from TI.com. And the next thing is to apply for API. So API actually stands for Application Programming Interface. So I know that many of you here, when it comes to the word programming, you feel that it's very alien. But don't worry, TI actually implemented a low-tech way to help you get familiar with API first. So there's actually only two things that you need to do. The first thing is to request for API key. So to request for API key, it only takes less than 5 minutes. And I think maybe I just do a quick demo to show you. Okay, yeah. So actually we created a file with a step-by-step guide and with some screenshot to show you how to apply for API key. Yeah, okay. So to apply for API key, there's actually a few things that you need. You need to create a company account. And after you create a company account, you have to set up the checkout profile. And after you set up the checkout profile, you can go to the dashboard and apply for API key. Yeah, the PDF. Yeah, so to apply for API key, two simple steps. First thing is to navigate to this link over here. Actually, I have an updated slide with the QR code. So later I will pass out the handout to you all. So you all can, for those of you who have not created a company account, you can scan the QR code and start to apply for the company account. So just follow the steps. So to apply for API key and to apply for a company account, you actually need an existing TI account. So I believe most of you here already have an existing TI account. So once you have it, just go to this page here and then just sign up using your existing account. And you have to go through the verification process and fill in some of your company information. And once you have this option over here, you know that you have a company account. So most of you are still at here, personal account. And for API key, you need a company account. And the difference between a company account and a personal account is that a company account gives you like a company entity. So with this, you'll be able to add like different buyers. You'll be able to add like your engineers. And let's say if buyer A buys something in a company account, buyer B will be able to see it. So once you have applied for your company account, go to the dashboard. Under account setting, there's an API key access. And over here, just request for it. And when you request for API key, our API team will review it to make sure that you are genuine customers, and then we will approve your API key application. So why do we need this API key? You can imagine it as like a authentication like that. So when you want to go directly into TI system, you actually need like a verification, a badge. So this is to ensure that you are actually a genuine customers, and with this you'll be able to access to our TI system. And then once you have applied for API key, the next thing is to start ordering with API. So this, So to order with API, we actually have a system we created using Excel, and it uses macro to integrate the API into this Excel, because we know that most of the buyers here are more familiar with Excel. And there's mainly 3 steps that you need to follow through to make an order. So the first step is to fill up your key and your secret. So this is the one that I was talking about earlier. And checkout profile ID, this is where you have to set up on your dashboard. So this is actually like the login page. So just follow the number. Once you have filled up this, click on number 2, update the profile, and then click on inventory check. And when you click on inventory check, this is the page where you fill up the parts that you want to order. So you don't have to fill up one by one. If you have a BOM list, you can actually just upload them here. Over here, if you follow my mouse at the top area. So even if you have 50 parts or 100 parts, you can upload them here, and it will be reflected on the yellow column over here. And the green columns are all the information that will be retrieved. So when you update the information here, the green column will also automatically be updated, and it will show you the quantity, the price, the availability, and the package. And after you see it, you can actually add them to cart. So this is the column where you choose the devices that you want to order, and then once you have confirmed, then you can go to checkout page, and again follow the numbering. The first thing is to fetch the profile. So when you fetch the profile, it will show like the shipping address, the billing address, to let you check to make sure that you are shipping to the right place, and then validate the cart to make sure that the parts that you are buying is the right part, and then you can get estimated cost, which will be reflected over here. And once you get the estimated cost, you can click place order, and once the order is made, it will generate order number over here, and it will send a confirmation email to you to tell you that your order is made. So other than just looking for your sales, your FAEs, you can also leverage on our TI store, because we have a lot of resources there. You can go to our E2E forum, and you can also look for tons of reference designs. We have more than 1,500 reference designs, and also technical documents. And let's say for certain technical documents, you cannot find them, you can also request and try to check with our E2E engineers to see if they are able to provide you any alternatives, or if they have the resources that you want. And also we have our web bench. This is to provide a very high-level quick simulation for our power management part, and also to improve your experience buying from TI.com. Please consider to apply for API, because this is the future, and we believe that this will help our customer in the next surge in demand. So for those of you who have not joined TI.com, please scan this and start joining us today. And remember to use your corporate email account to sign up. Okay, so actually that's all for my part. Is there any questions? Any questions regarding TI.com? Is there any bad experience that you face, or anything, any feedback? Because just some fun fact, actually we also have a very frequent meeting with our UI UX team for TI.com. So whatever feedback we receive from customers, we will also feedback to our team to always try to improve, to give our customer better experience, especially when you are using TI.com. Yeah. So any question? Okay. You mean for TI.com? Okay, so her question is it only for Singapore or is it for worldwide? So TI.com is actually for worldwide, and we are actually trying to localize it in every region. So there's this thing called localization, where we try to have things like a language. Like in China, you can use Chinese language, and you can use renminbi to make order. And then in Singapore, we are also working towards this. So this TI.com is actually a worldwide thing. Yeah. Right now, if you order in Singapore, you can only use USD, but we have planned to make it into a SGD currency also. Yeah, so that's what I meant by a localization. That's one of the feature that we are working towards. In some countries already have, but Singapore, we are still working towards that. Any other question? Yes, sir. Yeah, there's...
For the online store, is there like a MOQ or even maximum quantity that we can purchase?
For the online store, there's no MOQ, so you can purchase 1 part, 2 part, 10 parts, or 100 parts. It's all up to you. But of course, they have a different pricing range also according to the quantity. Yeah.
How about maximum quantity?
Maximum quantity depends on the demand of the device, because sometimes, if you all notice, we have some parts that has a limit. That's because some of the parts has, so some of the parts has higher demand, and we want to, because if we don't limit it, one customer might wipe out everything. So you want to make sure that every single customer still can get like at least 50 pieces. Otherwise, if we don't do that, you might not even get to see that there's even some stocks there. Yeah, so the maximum quantity depends on the inventory also. Any other question? Oh, Nick?
You mentioned about reference designs earlier on.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
I presume we are free to use it.
Yes, it's
But-
free to use it.
Is there any IPR linked to it?
Sorry?
Are there any intellectual property rights links to those designs?
Oh, don't have.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's actually open for you. You can also look at our schematic and also do modification and produce based on the specs that you want. Any other question? Okay, so if there's no question, I will pass the ball to Andy. And thank you for listening.